Okay, so in public, make sure you navigate. This is gonna be lab assignment 11. And I will just discuss a few things with you and then show you what to do. And a lot of it is just practicing. So if you're not finished today, this will be due by Monday. So lab materials, 2350. And images, and I'm about to drop those files in it. So I mark them all with yellow so you know which ones. So if you have your images folder, make sure you drag those files into your images. So there will be 8 files, okay? And they are marked with the yellow dot. So if you do a list or not, you can see them. Okay, so drag all the files that have the yellow dot into your images folder on your desktop or wherever you put it. This is what you're going to do, and I'm just giving you kind of overview of in-lab work, and you have all those elements, and you will have to resize several things according to what I'm going to show you. The BG1, that's going to be the background. So let me go over some of the images that I have opened up right now. So the BG1, that's going to be a background for your images. You're going to use that. Now, however, we're going to look at the size of it and see if we need to change it. So don't do much yet. Then from here, you would have to select the glasses and move them, and also remove some part of the wine. The same thing with beer. You're gonna have to select that glass and move it. Bubbles as well, and we're gonna multiply it several times. Cake with the plate, to select that and move it. Strawberry, and then a chocolate strawberry as well. And you have to select the table with the chairs and that one here, and then move that in the background. So everything that you're gonna place is gonna be on top of that table. Okay, so that's gonna make more sense once I go with over the steps and what you have to do. Make sure to navigate to bridge, and if you don't see BR in the bottom, bridge, then you can just go to Spotlight and just click bridge, you know, B, bridge, or BR shortcut, and launch bridge, because we will preview the images from it. Okay, and this background image, you can see that it is pretty big in inches for 72, so we'll have to set it up. Okay, so go ahead and start open up BG1 from bridge. Okay, so we're gonna work with bridge. And oh yeah, I forget that I cannot double click, right? I'm just so used to double clicking here, and it's opening up somewhere else. So let me move it. If this comes up for you, it's because we have a different color profile, and you should have a different one as well. Okay, so first thing we're gonna check is the size of this. So the shortcut key for this is Command Option Shift I. I'm sorry, the wrong command. Command Option I. Command Option I. That's gonna go image size. If you don't know the shortcut, you can go under image size, and you get the same preferences. Okay, so the width of this would be, okay, so what do we have to do first? Who remembers? We have to find out how big it's gonna be at 300, right? So uncheck resample image, type 300, and that is a good size for us. So it's gonna fit within 8.5 by 11, and so we're gonna just change that up really quick. Nothing that you see on the screen will change. The only thing that changes is the size here. So do OK. So we know for printing this is good file. Now let's look at our layers, and you notice automatically this is put in background layer and it's locked. So layers can serve different purpose. They can organize your information. They allow you to bring, you know, do a different effects within layers. You can actually lock, like kind of like Illustrator, you can lock layers, you can view them, but as well as you can adjust different things on top of the layers, not to directly affect the images, and that's going to be something more advanced. So if you're looking at layer options, if you click on the side, you've seen those before, right? Look familiar? Okay, so you've seen those. They have the big difference is on the bottom between Photoshop and Illustrator. And if you notice, by default the background layer is locked, so that's why the trash is not, you're not able to delete it unless you double click on the lock and you unlock it. Next to is the new button, which you've seen, and then there's the new group. Now I recommend one thing with layers: the more layers you have, the bigger the file size. So I wouldn't do, what I do sometimes, like let's say if I'm selecting different bubbles, I would put them in separate layers, and then when I like them, I can merge them into one. Okay, because you can merge layers in Photoshop. I'm sorry?
Isn't that kind of like the same thing size, or you just cut some of them?
I have a question asked about what the size. I'm sorry, can you repeat it? Because I have to repeat it for the for the.
Is it merging and you just keep them separate, occupy the same space?
Actually, if you merge them, you're decreasing the file size and the processing. Okay, and it actually makes it faster for. So actually, it's a good thing to merge files. So if I have all those bubbles separate, it's gonna really increase my file size. And then we have, like I said, if you have several and you want to put them in group, let's say text, I like to keep things organized, just easier, because sometimes I may end up with 100 layers. Next to it is called adjustment layer, and this one actually, you've seen these preferences, adjustment layer, vibrance, hue, is the same thing, except applied on top of the layer, is non-destructive, will not directly affect your image. And you see those preferences under image adjustments. The big difference between those, and designers prefer to work in a non-destructive way, and if you go to image adjustments and you adjust any of these are applied directly to your image. So let me show you what I mean, okay? So if I go and just, don't do this, because if you do it, you're gonna mess up your image. So if I go adjustments and I'm gonna go to channel mixer, for example, you notice here I can manipulate my red, green, and blue, so I will. You've noticed that it's applied directly to my image, right? See that? And it's done. I mean, you cannot go back, and the only thing is you step back. But if I add more steps, then you can, right? So I'm gonna undo it. Now you can do it in the same way, but non-destructively. If you go to adjustment layers, now keep in mind that not all the adjustment layers you see here have the same properties and adjustments. Some of them have to be permanent. So they have actually a little bit less, but a majority of time, I work non-destructively. And if what you want to do if you work non-destructive way, and we will discuss this in more detail, is create a layer on top of it. And when you're done, and you like how the image looks like, again, I would merge it, okay? So let me show you what I mean. Right now, when I open that layer up, you see my options came up on the side here. See? So notice what happens to the layer. Is the image affected? It isn't. So what I did is placed on top. I can hide it, and you can see that my image is still left intact, which is pretty cool. So now if I'm happy, another thing you can do with layers, like I mentioned, you can merge them. And on the side here, the chevron sign, you can go into merge down. So it was gonna merge it down. Command E, learn that shortcut. You can merge visible if you have, whatever ones you want to merge. And then flattening image is just gonna merge all your layers together to one image. And for printing, because if you have many layers, especially when you're working on your module project, I say save the ones with layers and then have a duplicate copy flatten for printing, because it's going to take a long time to process the file with many layers. Okay, so flattening image will just completely remove all the layers, make it into one flat layer. Okay, so let me go ahead and merge down, and you can see now the change became permanent. Right, so that is the case. Another thing you can do, and so this is just a little overview of layers. Let's say I want to type some text. I'm going to bring up my tools, and they actually move on the other screen. So I'm just going to do the type tool so you can see. And I'm going to type. And notice it didn't fit because my text, you know, I clicked it and I dragged it out. So you probably need to grab if I can grab the edge, that'll be nice. Thank you very much. Where is it? There it is. It's pretty big text. Not everything is fitting. Dear Lord, how much I have to drag it out. There. So you notice automatically my text has been placed in a new layer, right? So now I want to show you another options you have, and this can be applied to images as well as it can be applied to text. Is the next option, actually not the next, I'm going to skip the next. Next option here is a layer mask, which we will discuss in a minute. But the one I want to discuss with you is the add layer, a layer style. Okay, I don't know, they call it FX, but they call it layer style. What FX and layer style have to do with each other? The acronym doesn't make sense, right? Because to me I think effects, and you notice when you go to it, it's going to look like Illustrator effects. But they call it layer style. Could they put it LS? I don't know. They call it's FX for layer style. I don't know. So here you have some options you've seen. You've seen those options in Illustrator under effects, remember? And like we had to do a little glow and so on. So I can actually go into them, pull up my menu, and I can add either shadow inside. I mean, you probably won't see the inner shadow, so I'm just going to uncheck it. Let me check. And they moved this with CS6. I am very unhappy with them, what they've done. And they haven't changed it since the newer versions came out. They had inner shadow, drop shadow together. Now they're all separated, and honestly, I don't like it. So that's my personal complaint. So let's say that we're gonna select outer glow, and you can see that's one option. That's for all of the styles. And then if I click on outer glow, I have another option, right? So I can actually change the opacity. The noise is just the spread, and the, you know, when something makes like noisy on the screen, kind of those little pixels you see. Spread. Now notice the difference. What's happening on with my type, and then the size, right? And we can do even the contour if you want to put a contour to it. So we created a little effect with it. Very quick, right? Kind of cool. Now it doesn't really look much 3D. You can always go, and this what's cool about effects about this is live, so you can go ahead and edit them. You can always go back in it and you can edit, and you can even do a little bit of bevel and contouring. So I can actually select let me see, we can do contour. Maybe we can see that. And the type now is becoming more like extruded type because it's bevel, right? So you can actually manipulate it different way. So there we have our text. It looks more flat on the screen, but that's what you can do with layers. And then the next thing, if you have multiple layers and you want to move things, this is the linking or unlinking layers. So it'll be easier for manipulating them and moving them. Okay, any questions about layers? Does anybody have any questions about it? Y'all good? What I'm going to do is, we're actually not going to do the bubbles now. I'm going to delete this layer. Okay, and remember what I've done. I changed my my background. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to create an adjustment layer. So let me go back in the steps, and I want you to do the same thing as I am, for this background. We will change the color using adjustment later, so you just get a taste of it. So let me open up my history palette so I can go back to the beginning. That's where I'm at, right? All right, so now make sure your layers are showing. Go ahead and click on adjustment layer. This is like the black and white. And we are going to choose channel mixer. From the channel mixer, what we're gonna change it to is kind of bluish tint. Blue and red are kind of opposite, so I'm just dragging out the red towards the darker area, so it's like negative, you see? So put red, make sure it's +2. So this is my setting. I only move the red slider a little bit towards the left side. So go ahead and do so. Now, if you're looking at your layers, and it created a separate layer, right? So what we're gonna do, we will merge those two because we want this to be a permanent change. So go ahead and do, click on a layer on the side and then merge down. So we want it to apply directly to the image now. We're happy with the blue and you want it to apply. Okay, after this step, I would suggest we save our image under, it's gonna be one file that you submit, so you don't have to worry about a folder. So file, save as, and we will name it as last name, first name initial underscore, this is lab, assign 11. So we're only having, now, you notice it says JPEG on it. We are not doing JPEG. We are actually going to save as TIFF. Thank you for being ahead of me. TIFF. And make sure, because we want the layers to be preserved when we do it, and make sure you save them somewhere else than your images, okay? So I'm going to put mine on my desktop.
So no folder, right?
No folder. It was only one file. And then save, and then make sure you have the compression, LZW, okay? Just check the compression to be LZW. At home, if you do this, probably be none, so do okay. So that's where you should be now, at this point. At this point, we are going to leave our background image alone. Don't close it, but we are going to bring different things into it, okay? That's gonna be our basis for the rest. So the first thing that you want to bring over using the selection tools would be the table. So go ahead and go to your tables in Bridge, and you can double click. I can't because I have a different version, so I'm gonna drag into my CS6. And this point, okay. At this point, we have to check a few things. I want to see what size it is, because what if my table is tiny comparing to my background, right? And you can already kind of look at image size and see that I think if we do unsample, it should be, resample image should be unchecked by default since the last time you did it was unchecked. And you can see that this is a pretty good size, because the other one was 10 by 5, right? So that table is good size. So what you're gonna do, okay, and you can use combination of different tools, and we discussed a little overview of the selection tools. Let me mention them again. The selection tools that you have at your disposal is marquee, and honestly for this, the marquee it's not gonna work. You have the lasso tool, and under the lasso tool, you have the polygonal lasso tool, which helps you with geometric shapes. Now, the trick here is that you're not only going to move the table, but the chairs as well. And make sure that it doesn't show the chair underneath it. And also looking at selections. So you all will be at different pace. And that's why I'm going to record it and I tell you which ones you're gonna bring over. So if you're on different pace and you don't finish today, that's fine. I want you to do a good job on this, right? Because you'll be great on your selection. So the lasso tool, Malagonal magnetic lasso tool, that might work. You also have the quick selection tool, a magic wand. The big difference between those two, the quick selection selects the color and things around it. Wherever magic wand, I think, selects only specific color instead of like different areas. So you can go ahead. What I do, like what my preference is when I start out, I just go with my quick selection tool. Now notice on with the quick selection tool, you probably notice on top here, it has some options for you. You see that? Okay, and honestly, those options, adding to the selection and dividing, you can just use Option or Shift when you're pressing. It's going to be the same thing. And you also have the brush size, but I told you already that if you use the left bracket or right bracket on your keyboard, that's going to minimize it and maximize it. And honestly, that is the best friend. The brackets are probably much faster than going here and changing the size. So go ahead and get started.